the first day of the 2. All right, we are live, and the New York Mets, I think, are killing me because I felt like shit for a few days, and I was even kind of fucked up before that, and I don't know what's going on. You can hear it. You guys can hear it, right? There's something going on here, and I realized that I feel like shit from basically the entire day, and then I watched the Mets, and I feel better for like a brief second, and then when everything falls apart, I like instantly, like my soul just slowly just explodes, implodes. There's a implosion going on. I don't know if it's explosion or implosion, but something's happening to me. And I don't like it. The Max Scherzer was like, that was the moment where I was like, there's something tied here. It's kind of like I always say this dated reference, Elliot and ET. This team is fucking killing me. And I think you guys are with me. And thank God we have this first quote unquote Subway Series over with, because that was fucking disgusting. I don't even want to call it the Subway Series. It was an abomination to the Subway Series. We'll call it the Taxi Series. It was fucking gross from both sides.
It was the City Bike Series.
Yes. The City Bike Series, where it's like, I don't want to do that. And that's how I felt about this fucking series. So we're going to read the ad off the top because I think it fits in perfectly here. Everyone thinks about the day they'll eventually get to retire and enjoy all the freedom that comes with it, such as not having to do a podcast and talk about a bad baseball team. But Sue says we have to wait decades before we can kick back and chill out. Like, you know, say you got in pretty early on a company that blew up and got purchased for a ton of money. That would be nice to be able to, you know, have a bunch of cash and say do whatever you want. Unfortunately, one person on this panel did that and one person did not. So take advantage of that freedom and spend the summer chilling like a retiree and pair those moments with Coors Light, the beer that's made to chill, because honestly, I need to have basically a Coors Light every single night now just to get a little bit better, just to chill my soul out. So it's the beer that's made to chill, pairs well with a retired state of mind, which basically happens around the 5th inning of every single Mets game these days. The bottles on the mountain and cans even turn blue when the beer is cold, so you know it's time to grab another beer. Perfect for all your summer plans or lack thereof. No judgment here. So this summer, chill like you're retired with Coors Light. Get Coors Light delivered straight to your door with Drizzly or Instacart by going to CoorsLight.com/believe. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. That was my little sad sack moment of the podcast. I know everyone's kind of been in consulitis mode the last few days, but let's be honest, boys. It could be so much worse right now.
So much worse. That is
pitch went the other way.
That I'm not here to you know, piss on you and tell you it's raining. I get that it's not good. But you have to acknowledge that this team should not be anywhere close to the win total they're at. And games like last night was kind of a microcosm. You know what? Last night was a microcosm for the whole fucking season in a lot of different ways. The Mets were their own enemies last night. Huge theme of the season. The was ugly, and everybody, I think, I'll speak for maybe the whole fan base, that steal of home plate was a console moment. And I said in my head, I was like, if they lose this game, I'm going to console, and I'm going to console retroactive to that inning, because, you know, any other year where the Mets were just a shitty team, that would have been it on the spot. But I was like, it's still, I turned to Pabs. I was out with him. And I was like, it's only 3-1. It's not like that steal of home put them up like 10-0 and like the game is absolutely over. So we still might win this game. And then we do. And so it's your own worst enemy. The games don't make you feel good, but somehow it ended up okay. And then you look at the standings, and I know there's a bunch of teams to jump, but it's only a few games in the wild card. And I'll tell you, my main takeaway, my main feeling from it right now is how sad, how fucking bad that must have been for Yankee fans. Because as rough as it's been for us, the Mets did everything in their power to hand you that game, literally just letting you take runs from you, and for them to walk away with a loss in that. I mean, that had to be the worst played win the Mets have maybe ever had. And so that whole experience last night, that whole roller coaster, I'll get into exactly where we were last night, because me and Pabs had a very unique viewing experience of a Subway Series game. But it kind of it encapsulates the whole thing. I mean, I know Phil is fucking disgusted right now with this team. Like he has venom in his heart.
I'm turning into Tank. I mean, people were getting mad at me last night. It's like, oh, you're turning into Frank. It's like, yeah, this is a team where it's worth turning you into Tank. Like,
yeah, they are tough. They are tough. I do get it. Anybody who has Kunselt, anybody who hates them, anybody who is done and is expressing that, I do not begrudge you. I kind of am there in my own mind. It's just this little inkling feeling of like we're still so, if it was later in the season, maybe, but there's still so much to play and they're still kind of around 500. There's still this prayer that I have that Max and Verlander could still get, at this point, if they turned it around, they could get like 10, 12, 15 good starts in. There's no reason to really believe that's going to happen, but it could happen. Alvarez, even Beatty, like he hasn't been good at the plate, but he turns that double play. Vientos made a couple plays in the field. You get like, there is just some good. It's not like one of the dark years, right? Where it's like, there's nothing to talk about or root for. So last night, I think was kind of a symbolic game all around, good and bad.
Yeah. And let me just say this. By the way, we were both like, all of us were like, if Phil's not on the pod yet, like, is he dead? Like, Phil, we're at the point with Phil where if we don't see him or have like proof of life through like a text message, we think he might be hanging from like a ceiling somewhere. And the tweets are out there too. Like the signs were there. We're gonna all feel bad about ourselves looking back now if we don't do anything.
No, I was only late to this because of our guy Pete with the Wi-Fi wasn't working for me. So
I always thought that Phil was an analytics guy and like a level-headed baseball guy who would be the one to tell you like, well, like over, if we extrapolate this over time, the Mets will actually be okay. Or, hey, this guy's not good because of like this, that, the other thing. But instead, it's a roller coaster of emotions that even I sometimes I'm like, holy shit, this is a fucking wild ride. And I'm usually the one at the front of that roller coaster driving that shit.
And the most eye-opening is that he's hating on the people that were playing during the game, but he's also side watching the Braves and all the other enemies and being like, this guy's gonna go down, he's gonna get hurt. I'm like,
he's rooting for injuries, he's watching the other demise.
He's Buscemi and Billy Madison just crossing people off the list as we go along.
Oh man. And like I'm at the point now, I said to you guys, I'm basically wake me up when September ends. Like this season, it's not gonna be fun. It's not gonna be easy every single night. That's why I don't get like all up and down about like, oh, the Mets are up 5-1 against the Yankees. Max is on the mound. Guess what? Max is going to probably shit the fucking bed because I've seen this enough times this season. I'm not going to get too up or down about it. Like, the Mets win, I'm going to tweet out a fucking flash dance video. If the Mets lose, probably just going to fall asleep if I'm not already asleep and then just go to the next morning. Like, it's just, it's fucking so annoying. But, Kev, I got to say this. The two things are, one, if the Mets have like a chance, I know it's not going to be, oh, Jose Quintana is going to be our trade deadline move because he's coming back from injury. We'll make a move. I know Stevie will make a move. And two, I feel like there's a chance there'll be 4 more wild cards along with like the extra 2 or 3 wild cards that have been added to baseball that like we're always going to be in the race unless you completely are dead dog shit, That is the modern baseball, for better or worse, like you'll always feel in it, unless you're really bad. You're always going to be within striking distance of the second wild card. And the thing is, you might have to leapfrog 10 teams, so it's really pretty unrealistic. But I would argue the teams that have a chance to do that are the ones who were good last year and are underachieving and have some talent on the roster who's not performing. And, it's just like I've just watched enough Mets teams where I would say you look up and down that roster, up and down that pitching staff, these guys are not good. Even if they play to their potential, they're not good. It's not going to happen. They do have the potential. They all have the names are there. The talent is there. Even the pitching staff, because you still have these 2 like Hall of Famers. Those guys just dial in, even for just like, it doesn't have to be the rest of the season, but give me like a good month where those guys give you, 4 or 5 good starts in a row each. And all of a sudden you creep back above 500 and then you're kind of like totally fine. I'm not going to say like we're in good shape. I think we're going to make a run. Like we would need to drastically change things and get drastically lucky. All I'm saying is that shit happens in baseball. We watched it with the Phillies. We watched it with the Nats. We watched it with a lot of teams where like that can happen. And last night was a little bit of like, I
I was in the dumps, man. So we went to Fully Loaded last night. We were in Forest Hills. So we are.
That sounds like a WWE pay-per-view, by the way, Fully Loaded.
What's that?
That sounds like a WWE pay-per-view from like the 2000s.
It does. Well, it basically is because it's a Burt Kreischer show. It's the best comedy lineup, you've ever heard. It's Burt, Dan Soder, Shane Gillis, Shane Torres, Rosebud Baker, Tiffany Haddish made an appearance, Big J Okerson. It's the best comedians in the world. And I'm sitting there on my phone watching these two shitty fucking teams. These teams both suck. And I hate to admit it because the Yankees have a good record, and I haven't really watched them much, but I assume they're playing well to be hanging in the AL East. That means they must be a well-run team and a well-run organization right now, because that lineup is about as it's the least scary Yankees lineup I've seen in a long fucking time.
The Yankees are at the point where it doesn't matter who's in the lineup, who's wearing the pinstripes. They'll probably win 97 games. They'll probably get to the playoffs, and they'll probably just not show up versus the Red Sox, the Astros.
That's what happens. Yeah. The Yankees are either like in a position to win like 110 games, or they do exactly what you described. It feels like the whole lineup is a bunch of Billy McKinneys. It's like Billy McKinney.
That was the biggest problem in game one, because then I'm like, Scherzer should be dominating. The guys that were names were the ones that are slumping. And he's fucking throwing it right down the middle, 0-2, meatballs, no spin rate, all the shit you want to look at. And I don't know about you guys. Yesterday was my most reluctant watch. Like going into the game, I did not want to turn it on. It got delayed. I'm like praying for rain. Maybe that'll help us, whatever the case may be. And then obviously the game went the way it did. Nimmo gets fucking picked off at second. I'm like, the game's over. Now I'm just hate watching.
Brutal.
Kyle was in a dark place last night. Kyle, those texts that were coming through. A wise man will console right now.
So me and Pavs are, watching on my phone. I'm being the worst comedy host, comedy audience member ever. I'm sitting there screaming out about a game in the middle of somebody's set. And then as we're leaving, hordes of people like walking through the rain and puddles and trying to like navigate. And I'm watching Nimmo get his ass picked off at second. This is us. You can see the hordes of people, and we're just sitting there, like people walking around us. I've got like Nick is trying to grab me and like push me through traffic. And I'm like screaming. I'm like, why didn't he score? What's going on? No. And then we watched the replay, and I was like, he's safe. He's safe. He got his glove in there, screaming and yelling. People didn't know what the fuck was going on. It was almost like you would think watching from home when you're dialed in is the most stressful thing, because it's just like it consumes you. The only thing worse than that is when you want to be dialed in, but you can't be because you're just watching on your phone. And then to have that go extras, I was like, here we go. No fucking shot. I'm stunned they won that game. And I'm hoping that makes it, like I said, maybe we'll be stunned in the long run, because in the short run for that game, I would have thought there is no chance they win that.
I thought Steve's tweet was like really perfect. It's like, oh, too many mental mistakes, but I'll take a win. Like,
yeah,
Steve's like,
that's how we all feel, right? Like, and that's kind of, again, the big picture too. Like, too many mistakes, too many, too much underperformance, but we should be like 15 games under 500.
That felt like a console event last night. You had in the steal from home. Just like it's the errors in the field, but then it's the mental errors. It's the shit on the base paths. It's Marte airmailing shit, and it's just like, and that was the thing about this team last year is like they just did everything right. And they basically would just, it's like when you play someone in ping pong and they just keep hitting the ball back to you. And sooner or later you make a mistake and it's like, this guy's like fucking iron. I can't break him.
That's the 2022
Mets, right?
Yeah.
And the 2023 Mets, they're just like trying to just slam everything and they suck dick at it.
Like that is like Marte makes that throw last year. I even thought I was like the way that ball was hit, I was like, he's going to do it. He's going to gun him. And then I give him props. He fucking threw that ball like 300 yards. But like that last year, that guy's out. And last year when we had, first and second, nobody out, we at least scratch a run out. And last year, we turned that double play and McNeil doesn't make that error and all that shit. But still walk away with a win. And I honestly think that's a testament to how mediocre the Yankees really are, despite what their record may show.
Yeah,
Yeah, let's get this out of the way too. This is not our World Series. That team, I've seen that team across the diamond a lot of times with the pinstripes, the gray uniforms, whatever. I'm like, I don't have to hear from Yankee fans for another day. Like, there's no World Series like that. I can see that team. I know what a bad baseball team looks like. I root for one.
Yankees fans care more about this than like anything else. Like, don't like, oh, it's your World Series. Like, no, you guys are like parading around saying like, oh, happy I'm not a Mets fan or some shit. Like,
to me, I always do. I don't really get up for the wins. The wins are relief because, like you said, I don't have to listen to gabagool in my ear for the next week. The losses are what, like, that, you know, that will still eat at me. So I still get up for them. I'm like, we gotta handle our business here. And man, you were like right this close to a quote unquote sweep. This close, because what the Yankees do provide is a manufactured and fake and a little bit silly, but a real potential turning point. The Yankees are always the potential to get a couple wins and it gives you a catalyst to really like start to build and go and build momentum.
We did that to them, right? Back in 17 and 19. That's when they got on their runs after the Mets.
My most frivolous console ever. The Yankees had been like swept by the Red Sox, and I was on the rundown, and I was like, console the Yankees, it's fucking over. And I remember Tommy, I think, looked it up, and he was like, they're 3 games out of the wild card. And I was like, oh, fuck.
And then our beloved Houston Astros took care of business.
Yes, that did happen. But the Mets, like, I think played them that week or the next week, and it was like a 3-game sweep, and they never looked back. And I was like, oh, fuck. So it does, it does provide a little bit of that. But with no Judge and no Pete and some of the performances and some of the names out there, that was a shell of a Subway Series. I mean, that had Zippo juice.
We all thought that the Mets were getting no hit at some point. Like, it went through your mind multiple times, every inning basically, until they finally got the hit.
When Lindor broke that, I texted my mom. I said, she was like, I'm not watching tonight. We had a long talk. She's like, I'm not watching. And I had texted her and I said, like, let's at least get a hit. I was not even focusing on a win. I wasn't even focusing on a run. The same way with the Jets, I said, like, let's just get a first down. I want to move the ball down the field. It's like, let's just get a hit. And then I think at one point they both were 6 innings, like 1 run and 6 Ks each, or 1 hit. But it still didn't feel like like Cole versus Verlander, ace versus ace Subway Series. It was just like, I don't know who's gonna blow this game. And and it looked very much like us. And somehow in the end, it ended up being them. But I walk away from it being like, whew, like no blood, no harm, no foul. I think a lot of Yankee fans, they'll always lie to you and tell you we don't even care about you, little brother. We don't even think about you. Okay, sure. Whatever.
You know how I know they care? Because when they beat us on Tuesday, they had the video of Jeter from his documentary drafted ready to go. It's like, oh, when we played the Mets, it was just the Mets. Like, you wouldn't be tweeting that video out if you didn't care about us. Like,
that does piss me off a little bit extra, though, when they come to our ballpark and then they do something good and the stadium explodes. Like, that is what makes the fan base's blood boil more than anything else, because it's like you're supposed to be at home and it's hostile territory. And you got Lindor and you got Marte, and they're like cowering in the big moments. And it's like,
Kyle, we're the worst fan base in baseball. Yeah. I don't know. Like, I've been saying it forever. Like, there's too many Franks. The Mets will always be outnumbered. And unfortunately, that means like a lot of people in New York will, you bring your brother who's a Yankee fan. You get, Yankee fans just buy a couple tickets. Unfortunately, it's not sold out. We'll always kind of have that uphill climb. That shit doesn't bother me as much. Like, if the building's not sold out, I don't really care. I don't care if we're not like the best home field advantage. I would love it, but when Yankee fans are there and cheering, although I will say this, I don't give the Yankees credit for anything. I will spin zone every fucking game, win, play, record, whatever. That steal of home was straight up Benny the Jet shit. I don't know if I've seen a true blue, like, not an error, not a broken play. Like, he just fucking swiped it like that. I don't know what. Did he not even look? Did he not?
He did not look. And even the announcers were like, Escobar's a veteran standing there watching this guy go halfway down the fucking thing.
He's 3/4.
Yes.
It wasn't even halfway. And then he almost fucking hit whoever was at the plate. Almost hit him in the fucking face.
It was bad. There was a lot of bad.
If you hit the batter, doesn't that make it a dead ball? Or am I like overthinking it? Did he try to hit him?
That might be an interesting,
it doesn't happen often, so I don't know the rules. Yeah.
I'll just fucking blast you in the face and I'll kill the guy at the plate and you don't get the run.
They actually say to do that when it's a suicide squeeze.
Yeah, throw at the guy.
You can't bunt it and the catcher catches it and tags the guy before he gets
I'll tell you what else scared the fuck out of me last night. Escobar, almost not scoring the game-winning run.
Oh my God! The ESPN guys were all over that immediately.
That was, I get it. Like you got to hold up for potential if they catch it. But what was he doing?
There's one out there. There's one out there. You can't tag.
Yeah.
So did he stay on the bag? Yeah, yes. I mean that, and thank God it was closer than it ever absolutely should have been. That should have been there's not even a throw. The game is just fucking over.
Well, relay guys didn't expect to have to throw it.
Right.
The second guy turned around, he's like, oh shit.
Right.
Because of that, Brandon Nimmo actually got ruled a double for that hit. So because I think Nimmo got the second base before Escobar went home.
Jesus. I mean that hit felt like they played it last night. The famous David Wright hit off of Mariano in the Super Series, where we knew it was over. It was a deep ball. They were playing in, and David's celebrating as he jumps down the line because it was oh, this is over. And instead, we were a millisecond away from that being a play at the plate.
Why did they play Nimmo so shallow? I wasn't listening to the broadcast because I'd rather shoot myself in the ear than listen to ESPN broadcasters. I couldn't, when I watched her, and then Nimmo said it too. He's like, I looked up and I was like, why are they playing me so shallow right now? He didn't notice it until after he hit it. Did they say anything about that?
They mentioned why they mentioned it that they're playing shallow. They didn't say it was any real reason. Nimmo was crushing the ball. He's been hitting it well.
Yeah.
He had a home run.
I'm happy for him, man. That play, game one, where that ball just went under his glove. I mean, he's been so good, so I don't want to get on him, but I think I even texted the group. I was like, that's it. Those runs will score. That's the game right there. I think it ended up being that case. You just know how these things go, And even when Marte was up with the bases loaded, I was like, Marte walked it off last year. This is it. If there's going to be anything this year, these things start to have to happen again. And I don't know, it's still Nimmo's the only guy who's consistent. So
also credit to Nimmo for leaning into that hit by pitch to get Marte up.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, listen, you got to do what you got to do. Nimmo for the team. Always down, does whatever it fucking takes.
Yep. All right. So we brought up, you guys talked about game one. So last night, Verlander, it was the quietest 6 innings, 3 hits, 6 strikeout game you'll ever see. Him and Cole, I thought Cole just looked better. And I'm still very concerned about Verlander, even though he basically has to do this every time. It's the biggest game ever for the Mets when he comes on the mound. What are we doing with Max here? I mean, can we just I don't know. Do we have to injured list him and just give him another 10 days? Or
if we're talking about this, I want to say pretty much every pitcher in this series got good results outside of Max Scherzer when you really think about it.
Crazy. Fucking Leon comes in and gets them out like it's nothing.
The 4 runs they scored outside of Max were all pretty much on bad defense. Max just got shelled.
Yeah,
it wasn't even just the hits. The outs were hit very hard.
Very hard. And it just it feels like maybe when you get old, he runs out of gas and that next inning is a disaster. I'm hoping he gets to the 6th, but in some cases it's the 3rd and the 4th where, he might have fucking no hits through the first 3 or 4 innings, but whenever he runs out of gas, I guess, just the littlest bit off his fastball, the littlest, less bite.
I don't even think he was running out of gas. I mean, he was just hanging sliders on 0-2. The guys aren't good hitters.
It seems to just happen where, and I think the answer, Clem, to what do you do with him? I think you have to have a hook, a quick hook. If he walks a leadoff man, if the first couple, even if the first out is tattooed, you just know what's coming now. It felt like Jake last year where it's he's going to get to the 6th, then he's going to give up a fucking 1 or 2 home runs because that's just what's happening every single start. So take the 4 innings you can get. Last week I said the opposite. I was you got to extend the bullpen. So if you can grab a 6th inning from a guy, let it be your Hall of Famer. I don't think he's the guy to push anymore because as soon as you try it and then you go out to the mound and you talk to him, you're like, we'll leave him in. He'll get through it. Nope. Like when he's done, he's done.
And maybe that's, like what Buck has to do and be like, if that's going to bring out the competitive Scherzer, that's what maybe has to be. I do not know. I was in like a really weird place with this team. And I'm like, maybe Buck could think of something where it's like, this guy goes 3 innings. Then we have like another Trevor Williams guy who will give us 3 innings. And then the regular bullpen does 3 innings. And we just do that for like every game with Max and then probably McGill, let's be honest, right? And that is no way to be thinking about your baseball team in June 15th, right? Like, what the fuck?
Especially when the guy you're talking about is a multi-side
$40 million fucking guy too, right?
Yeah. I think you guys are talking lumped in with Max because Max has been so shit. Like Verlander, at least you'll see some starts where there's flashes and you're like, that's the 40-year-old. That's not the 38-year-old. And he looks every bit as much as like he can still have it. Max, on the other hand, like if he's not missing those barrels, that has been his entire game, his entire career. He strikes everybody out, and he's like, I'm going to go after that guy.
Yeah.
He is not that type of pitcher if he can't get those.
Well, that's what worries me is the greats make an adjustment, and they learn to throw junk and locate and all that work speeds. This is like a guy who is, a bull seeing red every time he goes out there. And when the bull gets old –
he needs some humility. He needs this should have been enough humble pie at this point.
Right.
To be like, let me throw some in the dirt.
Well, you know what I don't think helps in this case? Verlander. I almost feel like, what we thought was going to be like, oh, these guys are going to be like healthy competition and try to one-up each other and be this like ace duo. It's like if Max was just the sole Cy Young Hall of Fame guy on the team, he might be like, all right, I'm going to change my game and like, work and do what I need to do for this team. He ain't gonna do that if Verlander's, the one showing him up. I feel like that's But the worst thing of all is like what he's doing, Like that makes you the biggest chump if you can't be honest with yourself and do what's best for your game and the team,
Well, we're talking about extending the bullpen. The next 9 games, you have a 7-man pen after Drew Smith got incarcerated.
Let's talk about the legitimate witch hunt that's going on. Where's my fucking tinfoil? I'm not even gonna make a tinfoil hat because it's just clear as day. This is not a conspiracy. The New York Mets are the only fucking team that hears anything about substances and sticky stuff, and only guys getting who Robertson almost got thrown out as well.
They told Robertson his hands are sticky too.
How fucking stupid would you have to be to just go out there and do it? Or again, like obviously he's not doing it. You goddamn assholes! It's they don't give him the chance to wash their hands, right? That's supposed to be a thing. Like go wash it off.
They checked him before he pitched.
They checked before he
coming off the field after his inning.
No reason to even be suspicious. They throw Max out when it's like the last guy on earth. I think he even clearly he's not, because look at how he's fucking pitching. He's not doing that. That is whether that is a fuck Steve Cohen thing that it would be a very roundabout way and little way to like fuck with Steve Cohen, but to be like, all right, we don't like this guy, so we'll tell the umpires to fuck with his relievers a little bit. But something's up. I mean, something is up. That is bizarre.
I've never seen the shift rule enforced.
The home plate umpire was the one that called it.
It was to the point where I go, I don't even know what the penalty for this is. Like, what happens?
Right.
I've never fucking seen that before.
That's some, I don't know, man. That's
and he's standing there the entire time before the pitch, and the umpire's looking past the pitcher, just waiting for him to deliver the ball so he can call it?
And then like I don't know what you're supposed to do there. Probably just nothing, but you give somebody a heads up or whatever, like to just wait and be like, yep, gotcha. So fucking narky, which I know umpires are just giant narcs. That's what they are. But I mean, how do you sleep at night? I said when SNY did a 1 2 3 4 shot all in a row, I was like, that is, it's the old, like, if you know who the umpire or referee's name is, they're not doing a good job. When they get their own fucking headshot 4 in a row on the broadcast, you know it's an ump show, assholes.
the literal definition of an ump show. So you have Smith, and the fact you have to go down a man in the bullpen, which is the last thing we can afford. If we already have a 4th inning guy and a 5th inning guy, and then the regular bullpen, obviously we've talked about, to then have that is just, and Robertson saying, they said I had sticky stuff on my hands too. It's like, what the fuck are we? It's that. And then McNeil with the shift zone or whatever the fuck you want to call it, right? And it's we talked about Guillorme the other day striking out on a fucking pitch count, and it's like feels like every new rule is just completely butt fucking us right now. And I think it's mostly a sloppy baseball team. Phil, you say this team is playing bad baseball, and it goes to all this other kind of shit we're talking about, right?
Everything they were good at last year, they're bad at this year. Everything they were bad at last year, they're good at this year.
Yeah,
like
that's
they're like top 10 home runs.
You can never, and that's where that's what happens in baseball in the postseason. The teams that have those things come together win the World Series because you just have to do it for 3 weeks and then you're good. But right now, I mean, think about it. The doubleheader rules back in the day, a couple years ago, we always won or split every doubleheader. The extra innings rule has saved our lives, especially when we had Diaz. We you know what we got away from. And I think the league in general did. The very beginning of this year, it was the steals parade. Everybody was using the pitch clock to steal. Maybe now pitchers have adapted and it's not quite as easy. But I'd love to get back to that. Let's take advantage of some of this shit. And Lord knows
we some fucking bunts too, where all our guys are striking out. Like Marte, clear as day, could have been bunting and wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
It just seems like, and everybody's burying Buck, but he really doesn't have the emotion and the fire and shit when all of these very weird things are going on, and he's just what was that about? Oh, okay. And then he takes his slow stroll back to the dugout. It's dude, we are on a nosedive on the season, and then it comes out that we're playing with a short bench because they need to give Vogelback a mental rest week. And nothing against the guy's mental health, but the whole fan base needs a mental health break from watching him watch pitches. So it's
I've needed a mental health break for the last 30 years.
Kyle, this team is killing me right now. Yeah. There's poison in my body from them.
Yes. So we were talking about the extra innings rule before. Since 2020, the Mets are 21-11 in extra inning games. So that will save us.
And I don't even want to know what the record was prior to that, especially the record in late multi-teens innings. Oh my God, I feel like we lost every single one of them.
Yep.
But it's killing. I think it's like we're who we are, that guy in Lord of the Rings who has the spell on him.
Gollum? We're fucking Gollum?
Oh no, maybe. And we're just all we want is the ring. We're just chasing the ring.
Yeah.
There's that one king who looks like a bag of shit.
Yeah.
Theoden is his name, Nick says. And Gandalf, he fucking throws the staff and then the demons go out of him the Saruman goes out of him and he's back to normal. Right now, we're just wilting away watching this team. And I don't know who's going to be our Gandalf. I don't know if anybody could be. It's me and Paz were saying this year you can't you got to make some move, right? But it's not a go for it year anymore. You're not going to trade Alvarez for somebody. It's a weird spot to be in when technically this is a win now year. But you also have 3 young guys who you're you got to get them at bats and you got to watch them develop and you got to put them in. But you also have 2 45-year-olds who aren't going to be around for those guys' prime. So what do you do other than just hope you get hot, right? I don't think you can go for it, right? You can't make this year your year knowing.
You'd be surprised. The teams that make the biggest moves at the deadlines are usually the ones that are the farthest out. The Padres last year had Juan Soto.
Yo, let's talk about the Padres for a second. I'm sure their fan base, who they get loud and bang their chest on social media, and then when shit gets tough, they probably just go back to the beach and they say, "Never mind, we live in San Diego. Who gives a fuck about baseball?" But could you imagine the Mets fan base if we had that lineup and we had those stars and we made the move for Juan Soto,
and you were still under 500,
and under 500 with that squad, holy fuck. I would suck a dick for one of those guys in their lineup. Tatis, Machado, Soto, fuck it. I mean,
Gary Sanchez with his 6 home runs.
It is a wild underachievement out in San Diego. And everyone just, I don't really hear anything about it. But, it's LOL Mets all over the fucking place on the East Coast because That's how it goes.
Yeah, and then even like 2021, the Yankees make the moves for like Joey Gallo, Anthony Rizzo. For like 2019 was a better team for them. In 2021, they went harder to the deadline.
Right.
It's usually the further you are out, the more aggressive a team is, which doesn't really make much sense to me. But
well, you also get lucky, right? It's just a matter of like if the reliever you get throws up zeros for the second half, you're golden, and you get a batter that's hot, But
speaking of batters that are hot, maybe Luke Voigt will come up and do something.
Luke Voigt,
Oh, God.
yes, let's go. Man,
I
his first game, right?
Triple.
Triple. That's right, triple.
I tweeted out last night. I was like, how bad is it pitching in AAA to where it feels like everyone we put in that lineup is just getting hot?
Also, how bad is that? Whoever they were playing in the field of Luke Voigt triple? Jesus Christ!
So, all right. So Gary came here. Obviously, his time was short, but he's crushing. Voigt is here now. Who is like the third ex-Yankee that we signed to like make it the Holy Trinity? By the way, Aaron Hicks is crushing in Baltimore right now too. I just saw Argentina was talking about it, which blew my mind. Who's like the Brett Gardner? Like who else could even be?
Find like Gio Urshela from the Angels.
Yeah, there we go. Get Gio Urshela.
Yeah.
Hey, Andujar's in the minor leagues, I think.
Dude, he's 161 with the Pirates.
Dude, I was sold on Andujar. I was so scared of him.
I remember thinking, I got to go rub it in Hubs' face. I remember like he was all about Gleyber Day and he was all about Andujar and all those guys. And I remember thinking like, fuck, they did it again. Like they reloaded Urshela. They've just got guys all over the diamond. And then nothing. It's also Mike Stanton. He's just like not good anymore. He's like fine.
You know he's in year 9 of that 13-year contract.
Yeah, I was surprised at how old he was because I remember it feels like just the other day when they signed him off that 59 home run year, and I was like, "Fuck, he is gonna mash in Yankee Stadium for the next 13 years in front of my fucking face," and it's just like, I remember hit you 30 home runs. I'm not saying he's like a schlub, but it's like I remember thinking he was going to be the best player in baseball, and the Yankees were going to have him, and it did not work.
That national baseball writer who stabbed us all in the back and is trying to take food out of my kids' mouths was the mopiest motherfucker I ever saw in my life when Stanton went to the Yankees. And after all that, and even going back to it too with Gleyber, when they pulled off that trade for Chapman. Then they get Chapman back.
And back.
They got Gleyber. By the way, Billy McKinney was in that deal too. I just looked it up. And I was like, holy shit. And like part of me is like, would they have been better off never making that deal? And they filled the Gleyber spot with just like someone the Yankees could have signed back when they were,
probably,
a little more. It's like the Aaron Boone, would you rather not hit the home run back in 03? You don't win the World Series. And then he has like enough cachet to become your manager down the road and kind of just like come up short with this.
It just goes to show though, like the love people have for the farm is even when you think you got a guy, even when you thought Gleyber's like 20 years old, 21, whatever, like we're set. Like it takes a lot when the book gets out on you and then, pitching changes and, it takes a while to show that you can do it at every day, every year basis. So if you could go get like a proven free agent and fill those roles, the Yankees probably would be, way better off than being the cheap fucks that they are.
Yeah, it's crazy. And that's I will say this about this era of the Mets. We talked about it, I think, a little bit before the season started. It does feel like this year and then next year is going to be the bridge where it's like hopefully the older pitchers, the crazy luxury tax shit is where it's like, let's see if we can make it work. And then hopefully that is when the Dodgers shit starts coming where it's a self-running machine. The infrastructure is in place. The paint has dried on the walls. And then it just becomes hopefully a Dodgers machine where you can trade a Yordan Alvarez. You're like, whatever. We have 7 other guys like that.
That was always the plan. I feel like they knew, we had some guys in the pipeline, but also things, materialized quickly last year. So like, let's go get Verlander, and you don't commit to anything too long. It's become a royal disappointment, but it's not like, if we had a long-term deal, we'd be fucked to the future. This is where the fan base drives me nuts. We were never supposed to be contending like right now. It was always like a 5, more like 10-year plan. So we got lucky real quick, and all of a sudden we like leapfrog to 100 wins. But right about here is where we probably should have been trying to build our rotation and trying to find some middle of the road type rotation pieces. And instead it was like, fuck, let's just try, with found money right now. Let's go get an ace and see what happens. And if it doesn't work, we go back to our slow and steady path.
And once again,
5 years he expects.
Hang on, your mic's low.
Your mic's low, Kyle.
Your mic's low. You good?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Cohen said 3 to 5 years. So this is year 3. He's pouring all the money into it that he thinks he needs to make them contenders right now. And then he hopes that those other guys are coming along. But, that's the part that's driving me crazy. People are legitimately blaming him for the issues with the team, that he's not holding anyone accountable. Dude, you can go and fuck off if you think that our owner has any type of influence for the product that he's putting on the field. Across the board, you stack up us against the Yankees, we have nothing but name brand people who just aren't performing to their
Nobody had a problem before the year started.
Correct.
Nobody was like, this team is bad. I told you so. It's been, except for the idiots who are lying or just forever negative. So it's like, yeah.
If you want to go after Epler, that's a whole different animal, and you don't think he built it correctly, sure, that's semantics, but whatever the case may be, now this year, last year it's almost the exact same carbon copy as this year, and last year we were 101 wins. So it's
I don't think either of those guys
no reasoning with that.
The Epler shit is the people who judge Epler, his negatives mean everything and his positives mean nothing. And the non-moves, I keep saying it, the guys he let go were all those were all the right moves to let those guys go. Doesn't matter because it sounds like we're going to get this Brewers guy. Is that the vibe? And he's going to be more of the...
Yeah, I'd be shocked if Stearns isn't president in November.
And then Epler takes a back seat or not.
Yeah, probably you'd have Stearns as Pobo and Epler as GM.
Okay.
And the thing with...
we're going to get our... See even Epler was probably a stopgap. He's always wanted to.
Remember how many people they tried to get him?
Yeah. So I feel like, while I think it's the best thing ever, he came in and was like, let me clean this shit up and turn the whole thing around. Even, we're trying to get licenses for the land and all that shit. I got to turn all this around. And usually when you're doing that, it's pretty bleak. And he gave us a fucking winning product while he's rebuilding, basically, and reorganizing. That's pretty fucking impressive to even be in the mix when usually it should be who even fucking cares because I'm thinking about down the road. He's doing both at the same time.
Also, when it comes
to pretending that we're in the same spot as we've always been in,
because
they don't like the way the team's playing. It's what are you talking about?
When it comes to Epler, people will be like, "Oh, I can't believe he's an idiot that signed those bums, Max Scherzer and Justin Verlander." It's
again, if there was anybody out there who said in the beginning of the year everything that's going wrong is going to go wrong, hats off to you. Yes, there's a few people. A lot of people were always worried the old pitchers could fall off a cliff.
But what's your other option? Are you going to sign Jacob deGrom, who's 35, gets Tommy John, Carlos Rodon, who hasn't thrown a pitch?
They don't have – it's not like those guys are blocking some aces in the minors, and it's not like anybody else who's on the market is lighting it up. Everybody else is either injured or wasn't available. So it was the best possible thing for a team in that spot. And I don't know, man. I think blaming – anybody, other than the players who are underperforming. This is fucking nuts.
I think you can blame for player dev issues, why is Tyler McGill bad now? Why is David Peterson bad?
That's a little weird, yeah.
Or the bullpen. Yes, I think those are fair things to assess them on, but it's I can't believe he signed these 2 washed up aces. There's no other option you could have did here.
But even that too, it's why are those guys not good? It's I don't know, when they first come up and you're 6'7" and nobody knows who you are yet and how you pitch. Then your arm gets a little tired. You go through your first couple injuries. You don't bounce back. The book gets out on you. It's hard to be good. It's hard to be good for a sustained period of time. So it's baseball sucks, guys. It's a really fucking bad and horrible sport. That's not easy. So that's why.
Yep. Well, we talked about the Padres earlier, and we've talked about the Mets ad nauseum to the point I am nauseous from it. I want to throw up. However, as Jeff Bassan said, there is a team that somehow is underperforming worse than both these teams, and they're coming up next. So our series preview against the St. Louis Cardinals is brought to you by the Barstool Sportsbook app. That's right. We love our Barstool Sportsbook. My favorite thing about the Sportsbook is betting with my compatriots here at Barstool, the sharpest minds in all the world. We have the hit parade today. Corey Seager, Freddie Freeman, and Luis Robert all to record a hit booster from 140 to 185. So support our boys, Carl, Big Ev, and Rico. I'm happy for Rico. We won last night too. I feel like Rico needed that win. I'd say he's like baby Kevin in terms of his hate for the Yankees and their gabagool fans.
He's up there. I give him credit. The Mariano Rivera murderer thing is he's a worthy. We're riders when it comes to hating the Yankees together.
Yeah, we're all in the foxhole together. So it's always good. Like, say what you want about Rico. If he's on your side in a war, that's a guy you want to. He's the craziest guy. Like, you never know. He might shoot you in the foxhole, like Dave says. But if he's in the foxhole with you, he's going to be shooting other people too. So shout out to Rico and all of them at the hit parade. So the Barstool Sportsbook is now offering a $1,000 bonus for new players. If your first bet loses, get up to $1,000 in bonus cash. So download and create an account today. Use code BELIEVE to unlock your $1,000 bonus. Be sure to use code BELIEVE to unlock your $1,000 bonus. Terms apply. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. We're going to go to Phil because he lives in this fucking crazy world. Tell me about the St. Louis Cardinals, Phil, because it sounds like everything I see stats from Wilson Contreras every night about how long it's been since he's had any sort of like a hit worth a damn since like his latest thing. He has become everything we're used to as Mets fans as like a free agent signing from a rival.
So I'm kind of shocked that the Cardinals haven't fired their manager yet, given that he got into a fight with Tyler O'Neill for not hustling like the first years of the year. Wilson Contreras, he signed out a catch for 5 years, turned him into a DH. Now he's back a catcher. Overall, their pitching staff doesn't get any whiffs. Really, a bunch of old guys that are not very good. Paul Goldschmidt and Nolan Arenado are just not clutch hitters. And as I'm saying all this, they'll probably take 2 out of 3 from us this weekend, but that's
no doubt
what they are.
Yep. The Cardinals are like Yankees of the National League to me. They're motherfuckers all the time. I'm actually surprised. Like, how many can somebody look this up quick? How many like bad seasons have they had over the last, say, 15 years? Like, I feel like they are.
I think this is like the lowest under 500 they've been since like Tony La Russa's first year as manager.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like I have not seen the Cardinals be bad.
They've been under 500 since 2007, which is the year after they won the fucking World Series, as we know very well.
And that's when they were like barely above 500.
Yeah, they were 83 and 78 the year before, and then won the World Series.
They shipped Pujols out of town. That was like that whole.
Yeah, but I mean, they are, the model of consistency. And did I see? I don't know if it was
Yankees of the National League, which I fucking hate saying, but that is what they say.
That?
They're the Yankees of the National League.
Yeah, they really are. I mean, they totally are. I don't know if it was maybe it was a Mark Gooden tweet or something, but did I see that the Cardinals fans are like protesting and screaming and chanting about how they have to get back to the Cardinal way? It's like,
no, that's real. That was
real. Like, fuck you guys, okay? Like, have a bad season for a year, you dumb cocksuckers. God damn it. Like, the poor Oakland A's are out here fighting for their lives, having the biggest attendance of the year for their protest night, and then they go win 7 in a row. I mean, that's a struggle. The Cardinal way is, you can never have a bad season, you dumb assholes.
And I'm at the point here where it's like not even worth looking at the numbers of the starters that we're facing because they're inevitably going to go 6 innings, 2 earned, if not better. But Miles Mikolas, what did we hate him for last year? We had some sort of beef with him. I don't remember what it was.
You don't need a reason.
Well, this was the series last year where Pete got brought down by Stubby Clapp, their first base coach. I don't even know if that's their first base coach anymore. We took 5 of the 7 from them last year, so.
Fuck Stubby Clapp. So he's 4-3, 4.02 ERA. Adam Wainwright, who, let's be honest, is going to shove it up our ass just because
probably his last start versus the Mets ever. So
yep. So it'll be one last hurrah because people like to treat the Mets like they're the fucking like Bulls in the 90s. Like we gotta put on our best performance to kick the lowly Mets.
They want to try so much harder to see Frank's TikToks after the game, which I fully believe is a thing.
We'll see in the Beltran fucking curveball 1,000 times.
Yeah.
And then Matthew Liberatore.
That's the guy they traded Randy Arozarena for.
Oh man. It's just funny. Again, those trades when like teams like the Cardinals make it, you can live with it. But if we're still hearing about P. Crow Armstrong potentially being a force,
I feel like there are guys still complaining about Scott Kazmir,
But again, those ERAs may not look good. The only problem is starting on Friday will be Tyler McGill, 5-4 with a 5.14 ERA. All right. Home Senga. This is Citi Field Senga, which is a better version of himself than Road Senga, which actually, let me take a look at the splits right here. At home, 3-1 with a 1.93, away 3-2 with a 4.78 ERA.
He pitched good on the road in Pittsburgh, though.
Now, wait, I keep mixing this up. He is used to 6 days rest, and pitching on 5 is hard for him?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Well, no, he's used to pitch. It's 4 days is regular rest, and he usually gets 5 or 6.
So, like, instead of pitching on the 5th day, they pitch on the 6th day.
He pitches once a week.
Right.
And also, if you want to say it's just him, every starter they put on regular rest this year has sucked. So, at this point, like, maybe they all need extra rest.
I mean, you can't, like, I know they're old, so maybe, but it's like, no, this is not how it works, guys. Maybe Clem's right. Maybe you need, like, 9 – you need, like, 3 guys per game. Everybody pitches 3 innings, and so you need like a starting rotation of 15 guys.
Well, the original plan, if Verlander couldn't go deep last night, Tyler McGill was going to piggyback him, and then you don't even know who your starter is for Friday.
And then you just throw it up in the air. Yeah,
it's only crazy until the Rays start doing it. All right, that's all I'm saying, boys.
Legitimate question though: if baseball continues the way it is, which is at this rate, starters going 5 innings is going to be a thing of the past. Do you think they'll ever like change the roster to the point that you can carry more guys because you're just going to basically
they're trying to do the opposite right now. Like you can only carry 13 pitchers as of right now, and they're trying to keep like lowering the number.
Who's they? The players union?
Like Rob Manfred, Dio Epstein, the whole MLB offices.
Why do they want that?
Because I don't know. They want more offense.
I guess so. Yeah, let's let them only carry like 9 pitchers. They all suck. Everyone
like the 80s.
But like, it feels like if you're moving more towards the creation of the opener and the idea of like no hitters by committee and everybody just pitching a couple innings, you almost think you need more guys.
MLB is trying to eliminate teams like the Rays who try to have like these 15-man pitching staffs where like all of them are lights out. And
why would we want that? The Rays, who are fucking awesome and can turn anything into good baseball. Let's get rid of them. Fuck.
You know what it's like? It's like in fantasy when you have a guy who always like skirts the rules. I know I've had a guy like this. And we have to he'll only throw 1 starter the entire week, and the guy will go, he had like prime fucking Randy Johnson. You're like, well, he wins the ERA, he wins the K.
Yeah.
You always have the guys who do that kind of shit, and you have to kind of like weed them out. So I understand what they're doing with the Rays, and apparently I have people DMing me saying like the Rays, the way they treat their pitchers, that's why their arms will explode. They just have them throw as fast as possible for as short as possible, and then they're like, oh, sorry, your shoulder, your elbow shot. We'll either trade you before anyone knows this, or we'll just find the next guy and the next guy after that.
They're the running backs of baseball. The Rays pitchers, just run them into the ground.
At this point, run anyone into the ground. Just get me a fucking World Series before I die. And then the last guy I had to mention who's pitching on Sunday, Cookie Carrasco, 5.71 ERA.
Dude, everybody's ERA's in the 5s. Like, everybody? It's fucking crazy.
Outside of Senga, everyone's like, a 5 or like
Max is 4.45, and I think Verlander's 4.4. So
crazy. Everyone's ERA over 4 is nuts.
By the way, if you told me Max or Verlander, who has a better ERA, I would have said Verlander by like a half a run.
I know.
They're that close.
That's how bad Verlander's been. It's like, holy shit.
Well, the thing with the Verlander is he keeps going good start, bad start, good start, bad start. They know who his next starter's versus? The Houston Astros. So,
listen, I actually had faith because like he always just butt fucks the Yankees. So he always, he's pitched against them a million times, and I actually had faith in that. So maybe we'll see what he can do to the Astros.
I actually went back and looked at the first Yankee lineup he ever faced in 2006. He faced him with like Johnny Damon, Melky Cabrera, Jason Giambi, A-Rod, Posada, Cano versus Chien-Ming Wang.
You know who doesn't get talked about is Giambi. And he was in the Yankees. He was a monster every year, and he was terrifying. He just looked like a mongoloid moron who just like you think like Luke Voigt's a meathead. Oh my god! He
used to have the thong and he had the mustache for a while.
And I
wanted him on the Mets so bad.
Mash, dude. That guy.
You know who disagrees with you, Kevin? Mike Francis. We talk about Giambi every fucking day, 10 times a day from the callers. Phil, you said it perfectly, though. We have an Astros game coming up. And, my friends, guess what? If you want to go out and, hey, have some of those Coors Lights we talked about before and watch a game with your support group here, we're going to be having a watch party June 20th. Verlander, Javier. So we're going to see, at least you're going to see one professional baseball team, maybe two, depending if the Mets lineup decides to show up. Kyle, where is it at?
The Liberty, NYC.
The Liberty NYC. Kyle approved. Kyle said this is another good bar. We had a good one last time at 5th and Med. So the Liberty in New York, we'll be checking it out on Tuesday. We heard people who said they want to get like different nights and stuff like that. We're figuring that out as well later in the season. At this point, we're just trying to get a baseball team that's watchable for these watch parties. And another kind of update on this, one of the watch parties we have turned into a pre-game tailgate. We're working on the details, so we have to figure it all out. July 15th. Before Mets Dodgers, anyone coming out to Barstool, the ballpark, we're going to have some sort of Coors Light set up there. We're going to just be tailgating, hanging out in the parking lot, drinking some beers, hanging out, having some fun. So check into that. Barstool, the ballpark is still on sale. It'd be a lot easier to sell this to you guys if the Mets didn't suck. And then finally, the best two teams in New York, the best two baseball teams in New York are squaring off in August. NYPD versus the FDNY. That's going to be a big event. We're going to have a lot more information, but we want to get on everyone's radar now.
I think the whole squad will be out there. I think that game
at City Field.
The hockey game with Spit and Chicklets was a very big event for the FDNY NYPD, and so we're going to try to grow it over the next couple of years so we can maybe get to their level where it's a very cool event and very fun. I think David Wright's going to be a part of it this year, so he'll be out there. We should be out there. And these guys take it very seriously, and it's like a great grudge match. So the real Subway Series, August 10th. So you can get your tickets. Come on out to that.
Heck yeah.
And I will just say this. I don't want to give too much time to it, but Frank rolled up on me yesterday, being like, I don't even know what he was saying. But the Yankees were using him as their highlight reel, basically, their post game. And it's like, and he said something like, good, maybe they'll motherfucking listen to me and they'll change. And it's like, I just roll my eyes. I'm just like, yeah, Frank, they're going to change because of you. That's where we're at with the fan base as far as the two different camps. I'm not happy. Nobody's happy. We all said here, this team is killing us. There's nobody who's spinning this team as good or enjoyable. There's nobody with their head in the sand on this one. We all know exactly what we are and what we're not. It's a bad team with a little bit of potential to maybe, be okay. That if you want to scream and yell about it, like, that's your prerogative. Just know that, like, if you're like Frank, if you are Frank, Yankee fans love you. You're one of them. You are, like, Braves fans love you. You are the Mets and the team and the organization hate you. The rest of our fan base hates you. The guys we hate love you. If that's how you want to roll, like, go ahead. But just know it's like you're just as bad as the fucking gabagool Yankees that we hate because you're aligned with them. You guys all talk about the Mets the same fucking way. So do what you may, do what you must. But I couldn't be me. I would never. Even in my most negative years. If I ever found out that, like, the Yankees were like, let's go post KFC's video because, like, I would immediately stop. But, hey, each their own.
Well, you heard what Steve said to Frank at Pete's comedy show. How Steve said, you're too hard to guys. I'm not taking a picture with you.
Explained to me that Steve took pictures with, like, absolutely everybody. And when Frank went up to him, I mean, to have the audacity to go up to people at that event and be like, can I have a picture with you? When it's like, you publicly make, like, my job and my life harder, you fucking moron. And he was, like, the only guy. Steve was like, no. He started walking away. Frank tried to snap, and I think it's all blurry because he was just, like, walking by him. And he was like, you're too hard on us, which I think, is polite public speak for shut the fuck up, you dickhead. But, yeah, like, go be that guy, Good for you.
Yeah, I mean, teach their own. Be the man you want to be remembered as on the internet, I guess. If you want the Mets players, owners, and fans to hate you, but
and all of our enemies love you.
And all our enemies love you.
There is a crowd of people lining up behind where you sit, not to watch the game, to watch you freak out. You are not a Mets fan. You are a Frank the Tank fan, and if you can acknowledge it, that's fine.
Yeah,
but they are not the same thing.
Yeah, it's a carnival act.
Yeah, there is a Venn diagram. There is a little overlap between Mets fans but the rest is basically haters and Mets fans on different sides. So whatever. The Alonso thing seemed to go all right. Seeing him in that full fucking cast, I was like, what the fuck, Pete? 3 to 4 weeks, my ass.
Another example of how we need to be PR for these guys. They probably legitimately should have canceled that. Given that they were at their lowest point of the season, and Pete, who we think X-rays are negative, we're all good, and we all kind of knew it's you're not out of the woods yet. You got to be able to grip a bat, all that shit. But then you see him in a bionic arm. That probably shouldn't have been out in public. You probably shouldn't have let everyone see that you're fucking RoboCop now, because we all have a lot less faith now. And for what? What did that event do that can't be done in January, November, whenever? Why does it have to be now? All it does is just draw negative attention. But hey, as we said, do you? I don't know. We could just make things easier, and we could do this, the right way, or you guys do you and continue to be fucking dumb about it. Whatever.
Unless the doctor says you have to wear this robotic arm or else your entire hand is never going to heal, just take the arm off.
Maybe take it off for a couple hours.
Yeah.
Maybe.
You took it off take ground balls on Tuesday, so.
Yeah, you couldn't have taken it off that night. Fucking unbelievable.
God damn it.
I texted with his agent, and I was like, we were having some kind of conversation about Frank and the team's losing. And I was like, yeah, man, to be honest, I was nervous about this. This is why I was, I don't think you should have it during the year. And he said something like, well, yeah, you can't predict these things. And I was like, you can. It always happens. We can always predict these things. It almost always happens. You got lucky last year. It's never going to be that way again. It'll probably always be a bad idea to host a comedy night for a team whose reputation is LOL Mets. It's just
punchline.
Let's have that during the season. Not ever a good idea.
Boys, I'm going to wrap it up with this. I'll tell you, I needed this. I didn't realize how much I needed it. We just needed to talk it out. I was in a bad place the last 2 nights, especially. It felt like this team was poisoning me. We got it out there. We let it be known. By no means do I think it'll just get better this weekend, but there's always a chance. That's the reason we watch. And
there's a chance we were going to win that game. So,
So at the end of the day, no matter what, no matter how stupid it sounds, gotta believe.
Gotta believe.